We're back. It's been 400 days, and this would be 401. An odd thing to do, certainly, for sure, but it's worth doing because there's still more to the game that we haven't seen yet. Um, this is our book of thoughts. I'm gonna describe everything as if you've never seen this game before, because I imagine some people may have not seen the entire series that I've been doing so far, and are just here to see this. So I'm going to describe a bit of mechanics behind how this game works and what it is we're doing. So we have a book of thoughts, and as we accomplish things, we'll cross them off our list. It's interesting that even though we've surpassed 400 days, we haven't crossed out awakening the king. Well, we haven't awoken in him. If we did awaken him, I'm sure it will be crossed out, but yeah, you'll have to see that ending to see how that goes. Right, but this one, the Halls of Eternity. We visited the Halls of Eternity, and we've walked for a good long time, 20 minutes or so, and then we had to spend 20 minutes to walk out of there. It's interesting. Actually, you know what? Let's take a walk to the Halls of Eternity. There's no spoilers involved in any of this, what I'm going to be showing you, other than seeing our house and how you can decorate your home and some of the things you can find. Hello, King. And we're just going to pass him on by. He doesn't know what time it is. He needed us to awaken him, and we're not awakening him. So, the longing is a bit of an idle game, and that is that time continues even though the game is turned off. Well, the game doesn't actually update. What it does behind the scenes is it takes a note of when you close the game, and when you reopen the game, it calculates what has happened, and then we'll catch the game up to speed. So, for example, we're going to send our shade walking here to the Halls of Eternity. And then I'm going to jump to the menu of the Switch. We're going to exit the game. And actually, I want to talk about endings. Let me share a picture. The shade is walking this entire time. Okay, so here are my photos of the longing. There's a lot here. Don't look too closely if you want to avoid spoilers. I want to point out there's certain things that the shade says. Oh, there was one here. Okay. Kind of spoilerish to look at. So the shade says, I dreamed about my death. First, I heard a scream, and I fell from a great height. There are others just like this. I'm going to look through real quick. I dreamed about the awakening of the king. I can't remember how that dream ended. So throughout the game while you're playing, the shade has these comments. Each of these are related to an ending of the game. The one falling from a great height, the awakening of the king. Right, so that's kind of cool that the shade has these dreams. Well, here's one. I dreamed about a place beyond this cave. Right, we know that's an ending. But then there's this one. I dreamed about an endless hall with white pillars. Wait a minute. The shade doesn't say this about anything else other than endings for the game. Is this possibly another ending? Questions. Okay, so our shade's been sent walking. Let's load him up. See, it's calculating now when I turned off the game to when I've turned it on, and it's putting our shade in the appropriate position of where he should be standing, as if the game were still running the entire time. This does take a little bit, but here we are. If we had left the game on, this would be exactly the spot that we would be in. if we had left it on. So, okay, you get that concept. So what I've done, something over 2 years ago, I used the calculator online and calculated it's close to 800 days ago that I created a profile where I sent the shade exactly where we're walking right now, to the Halls of Eternity. And I want to reach the place first and describe to you what the Halls of Eternity actually are. We're not too far off. This has been something of a player theory. The idea of, could you consider this an ending where we don't choose any of the endings? Nothing forces you to choose an ending. You can choose to just not take any action. It's fair. I know of some other games and some other people who would call that being apathetic, apathy, by taking no choice. It's not taking the choice to not choose. They consider it apathy. It's a negative thing by most people. It's someone who just refuses to participate in the world around them. But it's a choice that you can make. So technically, is this not an ending, just existing in this state? Perhaps we're not happy with any of the endings, and you can consider it on the other hand, where we're not being apathetic, but instead we've come to accept our longing and not trying to overcome our longing, but perhaps we don't feel longing anymore, and we're just okay with it. This game it goes into depth about dealing with self-depression, your longing, trying to overcome these things, and the endings represent different ways of overcoming it. So being apathetic is definitely one way of thinking about it, just not caring anymore. But perhaps the idea that you've overcome your longing, you no longer think of it as an obstacle, it's just part of your everyday life. I think that's a fair decision that some people make, that they realize depression is just part of their life and they just accept it and they continue on with their life regardless of it being there. Sometimes it is crippling, sometimes it is disturbing, but sometimes you do overcome it. Sometimes it's not an issue. And I like to think of that as, yeah, that's fair. That is an ending. The shade pauses there for a minute, trying to figure out where to go. So the Halls of Eternity, is that also not some sort of an ending you can have, where you just walk through eternity eternally? And there is some significant difference. When you're in the Halls of Eternity, time stops. The timer at the top of the screen, which is all zeros for this game, in a normal game, while you're still trying to reach the 400 days, time will be interrupted. And you can spend hours down there, days. We have spent days, years, without time moving. It's a different way of thinking about an ending, where time stands still. And you can think about it symbolically of, what does that mean to a person dealing with their own insecurities, their own depression? They're symbols. You can figure that out for yourself. The game isn't explicit on any of these kinds of meanings. We have to think about it, figure it out for ourselves what these things mean. We're almost there. I think it's important to note that the shade is auto-walking, and that's because we have a destination we want the shade to reach, and the shade will continue walking until they reach that destination. We can also, let me interrupt his movement. There. Okay. Instead of moving by the controller, you have this cursor. This game was designed for the PC and personal computer of any operating system. And this is meant to be your mouse cursor. You can click on areas and the shade is going to move. So if we click on a door, it's going to go through the door. Maybe. Okay, we've arrived. So if the shade can't reach a destination that you've clicked on, they're going to continue to move in that direction until they reach it. Right, here we are. This is the entrance. There's even a sign. Only a fool tries to reach the end of eternity. This is exactly as our Book of Thoughts says. It is unlocked if you spend some time walking through the halls of eternity, and then you walk home, you leave. So this is what the halls of eternity looks like. And it seems like, why would you continually walk through here? Well, the game rewards you for walking through here. There are some items. There are some books that you can use to complete your book collection. There are pieces of paper, and there are even unique, how would you say, decorations for your home that you can only find here, walking through the halls of eternity. After a minute or so of walking, you'll find something on the ground, pick it up, and you can continue forward, or you can decide, I'm going to walk back home. Well, you have to walk all the way back. I know the developer has at some point implemented some features, so if you've spent hours walking, he doesn't want you to have to spend an equal number of hours to escape. You could close the game. You have the option. We have these bookmarks, places to walk to. You also have this one. And this one will just have your shade walk back home. So if you had clicked that, turned off the console, turned it back on after a while, the shade will just be instantly at home. So, okay, I'm going to tell the shade to walk over here. Over here. And he's not just going to walk over a few steps, then stop. Where he's trying to walk to is this position where the cursor is. But because this screen is an auto-scroller, he can't reach that position. So he's going to keep trying to walk towards it. So theoretically, if you turned off the game in this state and just left it for 700 and, what is it? 794 days, what would happen when you come back to the game? Well, I'm not going to start walking there now. We're going to have this shade begin walking home, and I'm going to exit the game. I have different profiles on my Switch. I have this profile. He's named Ever because this profile was created just for the purpose of walking through eternity as long as he can. So I have not touched the save file in a couple of years. I did take a look once, and the waiting screen spent a good significant time waiting to update us, but I don't need to explain. Let us see it for ourselves at last. What it's like to spend a couple of years walking through the halls of eternity. Oh, if this game could speak right now. Trying to calculate the time. Hello, Eternity. Are you having some issues? Oh, a piece of paper. Oh, it's a book. It's like the walls. Um, it's like there's code for the position the walls should be in, and they had to individually calculate. Oh, there's still one more in the back that just loaded in. Well, I suppose there isn't an end to eternity. But I don't think that's going to stop us from walking. I don't think we'll ever read those books at home. Yeah, screw manual walking. Let's get this cursor back going. So if there is a hidden ending, I can imagine most people would think maybe 400 days some hidden ending would appear. There isn't one. And that's okay. In some ways, though, I do feel like this is its own ending. It's kind of finding a peace within yourself where you don't have longing, that you've overcome the feeling of longing. I'm sure if I stopped and turned back and began to walk, it wouldn't take 2 years to get out. I'm just going to let the shade walk here for a while so that anybody coming in to look at this video, they're going to see, oh, he's walking into eternity. Oh, look, there's still a few minutes left on this video. Something must have happened. I must watch. Yeah, and we're just going to let you keep watching. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for hanging out. This has been The Longing, and I've enjoyed every bit of it. Hope you have as well.